Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Raw review for the 16th of May, 2022. This show continues to be abysmal, but anyway. Lengthy package running down the idea that Almost and Bobby Lashley are going to wrestle again because it was so good the first time. They also talk about the um, unification match that's supposed to take place on SmackDown on Friday. Um, Cody Rhodes will appear on tonight's show, and they do a countdown to acknowledge when that'll happen. Almost enters with MVP, cuts promo on Lashley, said, "We're living in the age of the Nigerian giant Almost," and that he would, in fact, brutalize Lashley. Cedric Alexander attacked Lashley from behind during his entrance and Almost joined in. Lashley fights out, and ultimately, there we go. They're separated by a bunch of officials ahead of their steel cage match. Bobby Lashley defeats Almost with MVP 733 in that steel cage match. MVP managed to hit Lashley with the cane through the opening in the cage a couple of times early in the match. Tries again, but Lashley grabs his arm through and yanks him into the cage. Lashley spears Almost for near fall about halfway through the match. Alexander runs back down and climbs the top of the cage. Lashley slams him off onto the top of the ring. Lashley then tries a high cross, but Almost catches him and sends him into the steel cage. Um, Almost then slams Lashley into the other side of the cage, and the panel breaks. Lashley falls through the cage and is declared the winner. Crowd's into this, and they pop for the finish. Mustafa Ali and Theory enters for a match. Before they could happen, Theory grabs the mic. He wonders if Mustafa Ali thought he deserved a match. He said that they needed a special referee, calls for The Miz. Theory didn't think that was fair, and Ali is getting a match against the U.S. champ after losing last week. So he got him a separate match to prove himself, and that's against Veer. Veer defeats Mustafa Ali with the special ref, The Miz. 2 minutes, 49 seconds. Ali fights back despite being tripped by Theory. Miz stands in the way. Miz finally moves. Mahan turns Ali inside out with the $1 million clothesline. Veer puts on the cervical clutch and gets a victory. Mahan then puts the hold on again after the match. Mahan clears the announcer table. Ray and Dominic Mysterio enter. To their music, they knock Mahan off and then run him off. He looks on in frustration as this happens. They announce a six-pack challenge for the women's deal, but about 40 minutes into the show, Becky Lynch appears. Adam Pearce, she claims that she saw Naomi and Banks leaving the building with their bags, and therefore the six-pack challenge shouldn't happen. She wants to be named number one contender by default because she never received a title rematch. Pearce told her that she would face Asuka in the main event, and the winner would be the number one contender. Raw Tag Team Champions Riddle, or Raw Tag Team Champion Riddle defeats SmackDown Tag Team Champion Jey Uso, or Jimmy Uso with Jey. Jimmy dives Riddle right into the steel steps before the break. We enter the second hour with Riddle fighting back with a Pele kick, running forearms, and exploder suplex before Jimmy gets the knees up. On the dive, Jimmy follows up with a pop-up Samoan drop for near fall. Jimmy then blocks the RKO attempt on the top before Riddle gets the knees up on the splash. Um, uh, and then Jimmy distracts the referee, which allows Jey to knock Riddle off the top rope. Liv Morgan tells Kevin Patrick after the match ends, and Riddle gets the win by roll up. Liv Morgan tells him that Rhea Ripley isn't going to get away with what she did. Morgan never gives up a fight. Angel and Humberto jump in. They wanted to feature her on the Kiss Cam. AJ Styles and Finn Balor jumped in next. Styles then calls them creepy and tells them to leave. Styles and Balor asked Morgan to join them at ringside tonight. She seemed unsure, and she said she'd think about it. Judgment Day segment. Ultimately, Ed sat on the throne. Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest stand by her side. Priest tells that all their favorites would receive punishment. Ripley said, "I will not be figure of my mistakes. There's nothing holding me back. Now it's time to compete on utter eradication." Edge sees the fans are angry and he can't help understand why. Understanding the state of the world, he advised everyone to stop being sheep. We're already seeing what that can do to the likes of Morgan, Styles, and Balor. He basically said that anyone could join them and offered an opening focusing on Styles. And then Graves noted that Banks and Naomi left the arena and called it unprofessional. He acknowledged that there could be more going on. AJ Styles and Finn Balor with Liv Morgan defeated Los Lotharios 9-19. Angel and Humberto controlled through the break. Balor makes a hot tag after that and returns. Balor then goes for the shotgun dropkick, but Angel catches him with a super kick, and Humberto tries something off the top, but Balor gets his legs up. Humberto then takes a decent bump over the top. Styles then takes out Angel with the phenomenal forearm. Balor hits Humberto with a coup de grace for the pinfall victory. Morgan does the too sweet sign after the match. Balor and Styles work well as a team, and the crowd seems happy to see them together. Chad Gable and Otis approach Kevin Owens as a result of the DNA test. They compared DNA from Ezekiel's red cup to Elias's old guitar. Owens is getting impatient. Otis theorized that Elias must have eaten some pulled pork and smoked ribs. Owens screamed at him. He yelled at Gable for screwing this up because he was supposed to be the smartest man in the world. Gable said he beat the truth out of Elias tonight. Owens told him to go do that. Owens and Gable are a good pairing as far as comedy is concerned. Alexa Bliss defeats Sonya Deville in 4 minutes. Bliss has new music. Deville controls the match and decides to untie the turnbuckle cover. Ref catches her. Starts to back her up. Deville hits a spine buster, then makes a cover, but the ref isn't looking, and Alexa gets the DDT for the win, and Deville slaps the ref post-match. We start the third hour with a Cody Rhodes promo. Rhodes is the most over person in WWE right now. Rhodes said he told Seth Rollins, or is told that Seth Rollins isn't here. He hopes he's listening. Rhodes then tries to move forward last week, but Rollins dumped gasoline on the fire and stomped his head into the table. Rollins tells Rhodes that he'd never take anything away from him again. Rhodes then wondered what he took from Rollins. Rhodes beat him twice, but didn't cross any personal lines. Rhodes recalls him debuting in 2012 with the Shield. Rhodes is among the few of the bitter boys in the back. Rollins then tag champ within months and shattered the glass ceiling. Rhodes' story was much different. He painted his face with a smile. He dead inside, but he endured. And ultimately, Rhodes knew that he'd never be the American dream, so why not embrace the nightmare? Rhodes then said Rollins was embarrassed over 2 losses. Rhodes challenged Rollins to a rematch inside Hell in a Cell. Rollins then laughs through the speakers. He said anyone that has entered Hell in a Cell with him has changed forever. Rollins threatened to expose Rhodes as the fraud that he is and accepts the challenge and tells him he'd see him in hell. Sarah interviews Asuka. Asuka mocks Becky Lynch by calling her a baby and said she'd give her something to cry about. Graves stated Banks and Naomi are unprofessional and left the arena. Owens joins the commentary team for the Chad Gable and Ezekiel thing. Ezekiel defeats Chad Gable 11 minutes 1 second. Anyway, so Ezekiel is on offense with Otis, leveling him on the outside. Gable's distracted by the ref. Ezekiel then makes a comeback after the break and a knee strike for near fall. Gable follows up with a moonsault for a 2 count. Elias then hits a swinger splash before knocking him off the apron. Gable then tries a cradle, but Ezekiel counters into a 2 of his own for a pinfall win. Backstage segment with Tamina, Truth, Akira Tozawa, Dana Brooke, Carmella, and Brooke bumps into Carmella. They argue, and Brooke tells Carmella that she hasn't been relevant since the Clueless guy, which I guess is James Ellsworth, works there. Brooks ran off because Truth is chasing her. Lacey Evans enters and is introduced to the crowd as the mother, wife, and daughter, United States Marine and WWE superstar. She mentioned how much she loved the servicemen and women of the United States and implored the crowd to chant patriotic junk. And I say junk just because, honestly, it's a worldwide product. We don't need to be partisan. Then Evans starts finding courage to fight back and change the circumstances of her life. It's hard, but it can be done. She's ready to show everyone, especially her girls, that you can break the cycle. You have what it takes to make it. Evans ended with, I may not be better than any of those other superstars in the women's locker room, but they're sure no better than me. Riddle warns the Usos and RK Bro 420 would smoke their tails. Usos said that they will have all the gold come Friday. Lashley has some sort of challenge set for almost next week. Asuka defeats Becky Lynch in the main event in 9:56. They go to a break a minute into the match. Exchange pinfalls. Asuka kicks Lynch in the head. Asuka follows up with a few more kicks, German suplex, and a sliding knee for near fall. Asuka reverses, manhandle slam into an arm drag. Lynch catches her in between the ropes and hits a diving leg drop for a 2 count. A few more counters and flipped into a cover, another counter, and Asuka applies an armbar. Lynch then gets a rope break. Belair, it comes out after Lynch rolls to the outside and dares Belair to hit her. Belair jumps to the apron. Lynch uses the distraction, grabbing Asuka's umbrella. Lynch tries to hit Asuka with it. Asuka sprays and misses her face. Follows up with a kick to the head and a pinfall. Asuka's the number 1 contender. Lynch freaks out after the match, and ultimately that will close Raw. Thankfully, we'll be back with more right after this.